Okay, hi everybody. This is Michael Pedone with SalesBuzz.com, and today what we're going to be talking about a subject that most people want to know how to do: how to get hard-to-reach decision makers on the phone. So today's lesson or session, if you will, what we're going to be covering is this: personalizing your outreach the right way. I'm going to offer a word-for-word sales script example, and then we're going to talk about the myth of the magical sales cadence. So let's go ahead and get started. First things first. Today's outbound sales advice really seems to be focused on two things. And the first thing is personalization and then the cadence. So here's the thing. A lot of salespeople are still struggling to hit their numbers, even though they're focusing and getting advice on these areas. And by numbers, when I say they're struggling to hit their numbers, what I mean by that is real numbers. Okay, open rates do not equal sales numbers. So if you're in charge of a sales team, sooner or later you're going to need them to produce revenue, or you're going to be on the wrong side of a pink slip. So, and the reason why I bring that up is I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they're like, "Oh, our numbers are great." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. If everybody's hitting quota, then fine. Just, no need to talk further." I'm like, well, no, we're not hitting sales quota, but our KPIs are really good. I asked him to explain a little bit more, and he was talking about the call volume with the auto dialer, which is great, by the way. If you have an auto dialer, if you don't, you probably should look into one. But they were talking about the number of dials that they were making, and they were also talking about their open rates for their cold emails they were sending out. Okay, but they weren't hitting their revenue. So you got to get conversations going, and that's what this is really all about. So with that being said, let's talk about the whole personalization thing, because we also know that just sending out mass cold emails is not going to cut it. So the advice was to do some personalization, right? That's the latest advice, correct? Okay. So here's the thing. In my opinion, most of the advice out there regarding this subject of personalization is missing the mark. And here's why. Trying to warm up the lead by mentioning you saw them in the news recently or whatever, and then you're congratulating them on their recent funding or whatever it is a complete waste of time, in my opinion. The personalization should simply be you pressing a pain point right here. Look, pressing a pain point or a hot button that the prospect would have to have in order for them to be interested in your services. That is the kind of personalization that gets attention, the kind of attention that you want. One of the greatest secrets to prospecting successfully is realizing that your business is only in business because it solves problems and produces better results for specific individuals or companies. What I mean by that is this: your company's only in business because it came up with certain solutions for certain problems that certain people or company has. Does that make sense? You need to know what those top problems are and why they're a problem. And then you can craft your messages to really hit that pain point and that hot button. You need to know what those markers are, if you will, and how to identify those prospects that fall into those categories, and then craft the right message to pique interest. That's the personalization that's going to get the attention of those hard-to-reach decision makers. They're hard to reach because everybody keeps bombarding them with the same stupid messaging that's off the mark. And so that's why you keep getting ignored. But when you come in, you stand out from the herd, and you hit the pain point and hot buttons, you're going to see an increase in your response rates and appointment setting and talk time. That's really what you want to go after. So let me give you an example. And this is just a very basic example, right? If you're calling or emailing, cold email, whatever, a target prospect, and you say something like, "We provide," and then you enter what you offer, that's just not going to cut it. You need something much different than that. So let's do it this way. Let's say you offer sales. I'm just going to use my own company as an example, right? You can use it as a baseline for what you do. So let's say you offer sales training, and your target audience is B2B companies in the U.S. and Canada. Let's also say you've identified that companies that have 10 or more employees is your target audience, and you normally speak with either the owner or VP of sales. If it's a smaller company, you normally speak with the owner. If it's a little bit larger, mid-size, whatever, you speak with a VP of sales, right? Let's say you at least narrow your profile down like that. Instead of saying, "We provide sales training and I'd like to get in your calendar," blah, 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 Here was what a better approach would be. We show outbound B2B sales teams how to overcome call reluctance, and our clients average a 22% increase in appointment setting, and there's a possibility we may be able to help you do the same. Now, whether you said that over the phone or a cold email, or I'd prefer, you call first, leave voicemail, then send the email, right? But if that's the target message, if you do that to 100 targeted prospects, and you use this one compared to the other one of just saying, we offer sales training, I like to get on your counter, which one do you think you're going to get a better result from? Now, listen, it's a rhetorical question, okay? The whole point is, and listen, I understand you guys aren't sales trainers, and that's not your business. The whole point is the formula. I'm just using my own example. So you need to learn from this. Well, you don't have to learn, but I think if you want better results, if you take what I'm showing you here and you transpose it into your industry, you're going to see you're going to start to get better response rates. Now, what I'm going to do is this. Here's a blank fill in the spot, if you will, template for you to try. So you can take this off, you can print it out, whatever, right? We show blank in the X on, and then you have your pain point. One suggestion I have is our client's average. You put a percentage in there, and you put the desired result. And there's a possibility we might be able to help you do the same, right? So that's just to give you a good kickstart, move you in the right direction. Here's the whole point to this first part of the lesson on personalization, on how to get hard-to-reach decision makers on the phone. You have to talk their language. That's what's really important here. Meaning, you have to hit the pain points and the hot buttons that they have that you can help them solve. And if you do that, and your number of callbacks and your set appointments are going to rise. That's just the way it is. You're going to start having more talk time. You're going to get more interest. They're going to stop ignoring you and start listening to you a little bit more. All right? So that's the first part, personalization. Good? Excellent. Now let's go on to the second part. The second part is the cadence. And what I mean by cadence, it's just here's the thing. Everyone's looking for that perfect magic formula of call to voicemail to email to social outreach cadence, meaning when to call, what time to call, how often to call, email first, or make a phone call, leave a voicemail, should I leave a voicemail, should I not leave a voicemail, should I reach out to them socially? Everybody's looking for that perfect cadence, but guess what? It doesn't exist. The perfect cadence does not exist out there. There's not one magic bullet that's out there. What works for one person in one industry will get disastrous results for someone else in a different industry or setting. So with that being said, because now you're like, well, maybe you're being a little deflated. Don't be. I have a solution for you. Here's what I can tell you. First things first, when it comes to finding the right cadence, we got to take a step back, all right? First thing you have to realize is chasing the wrong target is a very expensive mistake. So let's focus on fine-tuning what you need to do to produce better numbers first, right? So first things first is you need to know who your profile is. Now let me give you some basic examples, because one of the biggest mistakes I see sales reps make is going after anybody and everybody. And that's a big challenge for a lot of sales. Just because you're afraid you're going to miss out on a sale, you want to call anybody and everybody. You need to narrow your focus. You should be able to look at a lead, quickly determine if they have the basic necessities to at least pre-qualify as a suspect. You need to know how to do that. And here's some basic stuff on that could point you in the right direction. First things first, company, industry, right? Are they in a vertical? When I say industry, I mean, are they in a vertical? For example, I'll go back to what I do. I know if they're in a computer software, marketing and advertising, IT related, financial services, right? Anything in those categories, I know I have a whole list of like my top 10 industries. So if they fall into one of those, that's a good start. Next, employee size. Do they have the minimum amount of employee size? Then the location. We have a lot of success helping companies in USA and Canada. I also have people all around the world, but there's less of a possibility of closing that business. The majority of the business comes from US and Canada, so I know that. And then the title. Now this one I really want to talk to you about, the title. First of all, never assume that they are the decision maker based on their title. However, you should know who the top 2 or 3 titles are that you can at least start a conversation with. So do they have at least the right title to start a conversation with? So that's just at a quick glance, you should be able to, with all the data that's out there, with LinkedIn and everything that's out there, you should be able to look at a lead and quickly get this information, go, you know what, they at least pre-qualify as a suspect. Cool? So once you have that, and again, we're talking about the cadence, but it starts with knowing who your profile is. So once you know who your audience is and you have the right messaging, which is that personalization we talked about, you want to use your own experience to build a cadence that works for you. Stop looking for something that works across, that's a magic bullet. Go back to what works for you. And you might find that different lead types might have a different cadence. So let me give you an example. If we have a hot lead, by the way, a hot lead is when somebody's raising their hand, okay? If it's a warm to hot lead, they're raising their hand, I'm going to have a little bit different cadence to that than somebody I'm prospecting where I'm nurturing or I'm going after a little bit, all right? But we'll keep the focus narrowed here to just picking on one cadence here in a second. But like I said, once you know who your audience is, you have the right messaging, you want to use your own experience to build out a cadence that works for you. With that being said, I know everyone still wants to hear from others what works for them. So like I just mentioned a second ago, I'm going to share one of the ones I get the best results from. You ready? Okay. I'll reach out 3 times in 72 hours, and if I don't get a response after that, I will do one of 2 things. I will either set up a 30-day call task, or, you ready for this? I might just remove the lead from my name and let someone else work it. Let's talk about this. If on day 1 I call, I leave voicemail, I send an email, and I don't hear anything back, my system's automatically going to schedule a call for me or an email for the next day on day 2. And then again, it's going to do the same thing on day 3. After that, here's my thoughts on this. After that, I know the prospect has gotten my message, right? And so if they haven't responded, it's either it's bad timing or there's no need. I guess there's a third option that they're just not, how do I want to say this? I'm going to, Gittimer and I were talking about this. He goes, sometimes people are just too stupid to realize they need something, right? So I don't want to be insulting, but I mean, listen, it's either no need, bad timing, or they just don't see it, and maybe one day they'll be out and somebody else will be in, right? But here's the deal. Let's say it's the first 2. It's either they know their business well enough and there's just bad timing or no need. Why keep chasing them? I'm confident in my message and my pre-call research. So I know that my messaging is going to be on point for my target audience. I don't want to keep harassing them. I don't want to keep chasing somebody that doesn't want to be caught in that sense. So I'm not going to do 2 or 3 touches a week for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever. Right? Despite I know everybody says you have to have 12 touches and all that. So with that being said, trigger events do happen. And what I mean by a trigger event, some things do change. Something would happen where maybe if I reach out to them today and there is no need or no timing or whatever, but 3 weeks from now something could happen, or 4 weeks from now something could happen, and now all of a sudden they need what I offer. So on certain accounts, if I'm going to decide to work them every 30 days, if it's an account I really want to go after, then that's what I'll put them into those scenarios. So I reach out to them in 72 hours, 3 times. And by the way, it could be 9 touches at that point, right? Call, voicemail, email, call, voicemail, email, call, voicemail, email, right? If I wanted to do it that way. With that being said, if it's an account I feel that I really want to work and I haven't heard back from them, I will do it every 30 days and I'll stay in touch with them until I decide to let them go or not. Note, okay, just a little note right here. This is really important because if somebody follows that process I just mentioned where they don't kick out a lead and let it go, like throwing a fish back into the water, right? If they don't kick out a lead and let somebody else work it, they hoard it, you can really get bogged down. So you really have to be careful with which leads you decide you really want to work. If you cannot cycle through your lead list with at least one call once a month, it may be a sign that you ready for this? You might have too many leads slowing you down. You should be able to cycle through your entire lead list with one call every month. So example, let's say if you're going to make 20 calls, first of all, there's 20 working days in a month, right, on average. So if you're only going to make 20 second, third, fourth, fifth attempts, whatever. I don't call them follow-ups unless you spoke to them, by the way. So it's a first time call, but if you're trying them again, it might be a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh attempt, right? If you cannot call every lead once during a month during those 20 days, if you're gonna do 20 calls a day on those second attempts or third attempts, 20 times 20, that's 400. You should be able to cycle through all of them. If you're sitting on 1,000 leads, well, then you better be making sure you're doing enough dials per day to touch them at least once. Does that make sense? You with me on that? All right, excellent. I used to have a rule. Well, let me rephrase that. I was taught a long time ago, and then I adapted it when I started my own companies. But way back in the day, I had a manager that says you need to cycle through them, and then after 60 days, if there was no movement, you could lose that account. So you had 60 days to make something happen. Now, sure, if you had positive communication during that time, even if they didn't close, then another 60. You granted another 60 days. But there were times that we would tag accounts that we really wanted to work, and we would know on the 61st day if there was no movement, we would go in there and take that. I think that's a good system to have. But if you, the point that I'm trying to bring this up is you want to make sure you can reach out to all your leads within that 30-day period, and then at least have 2 months to try to make something happen. Cool? If you can't do that, you just have too many leads. And the problem is this: you're having some leads that you're probably trying to go after or whatever that really aren't worth chasing. Let them go. Focus on the ones that are going to give you the ROI. Narrow your focus on your top prospects. Fix your message and create a cadence that works for you and your situation, for whatever situation you're in, and you'll start to see that you're going to set more appointments with those hard to reach decision makers. You got the right message, you got the right cadence, they're going to start reaching out to you. And again, the one thing is this: you don't need 100% of them to call you back. All right, let's get that out of the way. You don't need 100% to call. If everybody called you back, you'd have no time to make any more calls, right? So you know that's not going to happen. You should be striving for anywhere from a 15 to 25% response rate with your cadence. If you're not getting at least that, that means your messaging, it's either your messaging is off, how you're saying it is off, or you're contacting the wrong people. Make sense? All right, guys. Thanks for attending. I know there's a lot of other workshops for you to get to, so I'm going to cut you loose. If I can be of any other help to you, you can just email us at mpedone@salesbuzz.com. We're more than happy to help you out. We also have some free information on our website that might be able to some help to you at salesbuzz.com, some free courses for you to take there as well on voicemail strategies, etc. All right, take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.